Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Jazakumullahu khairan for coming. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. It's really good to see everyone here. Can everyone hear me well? Is it okay? Is it ringing? It's good. All right, mashallah. I don't know why it feels like forever since I've seen you guys all. Maybe because we've been, very busy in our lives, schools and kids and all of that. But this is for me is my safe space. Alhamdulillah. So alhamdulillah, it's good to see you here. We're starting alhamdulillah on time as we do, and inshallah as people trickle in, they're not going to be rewarded the $50 gift card. You guys have a higher chance inshallah with that. So the program today is as follows. Inshallah we'll start with the Quran recitation with Sheikh Zuhair. Then we have the keynote speech, Dr. Samad Malik, and inshallah we'll have the $50 draw, and then we're going to have dinner and socialization. We should be out of here by 5 p.m. inshaAllah ta'ala. So without further ado, I would like to invite Sheikh Zuhair Tahir to start with the Quran recitation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أتى أمر الله فلا تستعجلوه سبحانه وتعالى عما يشركون ينزل الملائكة بالروح من أمره على من يشاء من عباده أن أنذروا أنه لا إله إلا أنا فاتقون خلق السماوات والأرض بالحق تعالى عما يشركون خلق الإنسان من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين والأنعام خلقها لكم فيها دفء ومنافع ومنها تأكلون ولكم فيها جمال حين تريحون وحين تسرحون وتحمل أثقالكم إلى بلد لم تكونوا بالغيه إلا بشق الأنفس إن ربكم لرؤوف رحيم والخيل والبغال والحمير لتركبوها وزينة ويخلق ما لا تعلمون وعلى الله قصد السبيل ومنها جائر ولو شاء لهداكم أجمعين هو الذي أنزل من السماء ماء لكم منه شراب ومنه شجر فيه تسيمون ينبت لكم به الزرع والزيتون والنخيل والأعناب ومن كل الثمرات إن في ذلك لآية لقوم يتفكرون وسخر لكم الليل والنهار والشمس والقمر والنجوم مسخرات بأمره إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يعقلون وما ذرأ لكم في الأرض مختلفا ألوانه إن في ذلك لآية لقوم يذكرون وهو الذي سخر البحر لتأكلوا منه لحما طريا وتستخرجوا منه حلية تلبسونها وترى الفلك مواخر فيه ولتبتغوا من فضله ولعلكم تشكرون.
Jazakumullah Sheikh Zuhair for this beautiful recitation. Inshallah, I would like to introduce our speaker today. Before I introduce him, whenever we invite a speaker, I try to go and dig up as much as I can about his history. And our speaker here, I dug up his history. I went very, very back in time. You had some really good pictures, beautiful hair, Dr. Samad. And then I found his bio, and the email exchange was very, beautiful. I'm trying to be nice, because like when I read the bio, I didn't understand anything. And I'm a biomedical engineer. I didn't get what those terms mean. And I think he detected that from the email. He's like, "Can I write you a bio?" I said, "Yes, please." And it was absolutely beautiful. It's human. I could read it. Dr. Samad Malik is a specialist, and his specialty. Let me see here. Yeah, so he is a surgeon, and he's a surgeon of weight loss, right? Let me speak in human terms here. He himself, he's a clinical assistant professor at UBC, the University of British Columbia. He's a well-established medical trainer as well as a researcher. He's the former division head of the general surgery at Victoria, British Columbia here. He was also a fellow at the Advanced Laparoscopic Surgery at the Center of Excellence for the Bariatric Surgery at McMaster University. He has a master's as well as an MD from the University of Saskatchewan. He enjoys, I didn't know about him, but he enjoys basketball, softball, as well as golf with his family. And today he is here to talk about healthy living perspectives from a weight loss surgeon. So without further ado, I would like you to welcome Dr. Samad Malik.
Assalamu alaikum. Can everybody hear me? Great. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come and speak today. I've been speaking with Brother Mustafa for a long time in the sense that we have to kind of engage our community members and be able to use the expertise we have within our community to kind of spread the knowledge to benefit from their presence. And I'll be honest, I'm not going to come from a religious perspective at all. I think the Olive Branch Revival Foundation does a fantastic job of spreading Islamic education and teaching us how to be better Muslims. I'm going to come and have a discussion, but what I want you to keep in mind is kind of stick with the basic principles of how we're going to introduce this element of behavioral change, how we're going to introduce cultural change, how we're going to evoke change. And when I talk about change, let's look at it from the other perspective. When you're comfortable, that means you're not changing. That's the status quo, okay? But if you're going to be uncomfortable, that means that's a sign of change, okay? So if you're going to be uncomfortable during this presentation, that's going to be key, okay? Secondly, I'm going to talk about healthy living. I'm just going to give you an introduction to it. There's so much you can discuss in terms of diet, health, exercise, everything, all these elements that I'm just going to basically be at the tip of the iceberg. So there's so much more to talk about. But and at the end of the day, I only have 22 minutes, so I'm going to keep it to 22 minutes because the most important part about it is the discussion that we're going to have after the presentation. So we had a great introduction to what I do, but basically, if you can think about what I do as a surgeon, I'm a gastrointestinal and abdominal surgeon, so I'm anywhere in the abdomen. So I'll do appendectomies, removal of the appendix, gallbladder surgeries, colon cancer, weight loss surgery. That's the bulk of what I do as a surgeon specialist, and then I'm also involved in endoscopy as well. Stanford University actually approaches behavioral change or any kind of change, and this change can be applied to anything, whether you want to learn a new behavior, whether you want to improve your spiritual enhancement, whether you want to improve anything. You look at the principles of reanalyze, reboot, and transform. Reanalyze, look at the data, look at the problem, figure out the facts of the problem. Reboot, figure out a vision plan of how you're going to actualize or operationalize that change, transform, carry it out. Okay, and so these are the principles I'm going to use to discuss how we're going to approach healthy living, change in our behaviors. So if you look at the time in the day, what we have a 12-hour window, and if you think about from, can you see my, oh, you can't see my thing. If you see the largest element of the pie, is what we do in the rest of in a 12-hour day. It's mostly work or some sort of commitment to generating income, okay? Then you have a smaller piece where it's after work, and that's like usually time spent with your family, doing all these activities, and then there's another slice. Do you know what the other slice is? That would be nice. The slice is actually me. Me, myself, and I. How much are you impacting yourself? And is that piece of pie getting smaller with time? Traditionally it does, right? We get busier and busier and busier. So I'm going to say we got to look back at the lens of like, we need to start being more selfish. We need to start taking care of ourselves. Because if we can't take care of ourselves, guess what happens with everything else? Family suffers, your work suffers. It's just a downhill thing. So I'm going to tell you that we need to focus on me, myself, and I. And I'm going to give you some elements or some ideas of how to change that. And I'm not asking you to change things full throttle. If we can focus on this idea of changing 1% per day, 1%, it's a small amount, right? But after 30 days, it's 30%. After 60 days, 2 months, 60%. And I'm talking about, this is not just applying to healthy living, talking about increasing your spiritual awareness, your religious commitment, talking about a behavioral change of anything that you define that you want as a priority. So when we talk about growth and maintenance, you're going to talk to my kids. My role with my wife, our role is how do we be better parents? And I'll define that in my mind as I'm responsible for your mind, your body, and your soul. That's going to contribute to overall health. That's my function as a parent. And my kids always hear that from me, and they hate it, but they get it. The fact of the matter is, we've got to focus on your mind, how we're going to educate you to make those smart decisions, how we're going to take care of your body, are you going to eat properly, are you going to take care of it in terms of exercise, and in terms of your soul, the spiritual aspects of things. You need a religious presence. Where is your Islam in all this, right? So this is all that comes down to a totality of the bigger picture. And who's involved in all this? Who's going to take care of this? Who's responsible for this? Again, comes down to me, myself, and I. This is an I problem. This is me. So let's step back. Growth and maintenance. When we have a car, the oil change goes on, we go take a car right away in and we pay for it to get taken care of the oil change, right? Because why? We want to promote the longevity of the car. That's what we do. We clean the car, we wash the car, we're going to make sure the car is well kept. Same thing with our house. We're going to mow the lawn. We're going to keep the windows clean. We're going to vacuum. We're going to take care of all this, right? But what about us? When do we start taking care of us? Do we wait till we go to the family doctor and ask them to take care of us? By that time, it's too late, right? If you're going to the family doctor, you have a problem that you probably haven't addressed or that you can't address or you don't want to address. But now that if you're going to the family doctor, they're going to tell you, well, you should try this. You're like, what, it doesn't work. I want medication. Oh, now I'm going to get medication. It's getting better. But are you curing the problem? You're not curing the problem. So I'm going to try to focus on, well, how do you take care of yourself? How are we going to focus on our self-growth, self-maintenance? Now we're going to reanalyze. We're going to look at facts. We're going to discuss ideas of why we need to change. So if you talk about the evolution of obesity, you can look at this diagram, look at how it's evolved over time. We're not going to argue about the genetic or the evolution of whether we came from monkeys or we're not going to talk about that. But if you look in the last two, you look at somebody with a spear, who's a hunter, who's in great shape, and who's the person next to him? Somebody's holding a platter with a fast food tray, right? So if we go back to the person who's hunting, what happened decades, centuries ago? We'd have to leave the house, we'd have to go hunt, we'd have to go kill an animal, we'd have to carry that animal back, we'd have to clean it, we'd have to prepare it, and that's good for 2 weeks for our family, right? But what's happened now? What's evolved over the period of time? McDonald's. Let's talk about McDonald's for a second. You can walk into a restaurant, you can order, 2 minutes later, your food's ready, right? But that's not fast enough. We want to drive it through now. We don't want to get out of the car now. We want to drive our car, order our food, 2 minutes later, our food is ready. We don't even have to get out of the car. Fast forward to COVID, we don't even have to leave our house now. We just click on something, we order food, and it comes. But what's the difference here? There's no work. There's no energy afforded. We're not moving. It's a problem. So let's talk about obesity. Why am I so focused on obesity? Because I'll tell you right now, this is something we control. You don't want to believe it? I'll argue anytime. This is something we can turn on or off. It's just that we've just turned it on. What are the problems with obesity? You get cancer, lung, liver, breast, high blood pressure, obstructive sleep apnea. Obstructive sleep apnea is when your throat occludes your breathing at night, and so you snore. You think everyone's a snorer, but it's actually your tongue is falling back and occluding your breathing airway. So what's the response to that? They put a mask on you to force air through your breathing way so you don't die in your sleep. Depression, reflux, osteoarthritis, bone pain, heart disease, heart attack, diabetes. What happens when you have all these things? You have to see specialists. So you see the endocrinologist to manage your diabetes. You see the cancer doctors just to manage your cancer. You see your internal medicine specialist to put you on blood pressure lowering medications. You see the respirologist to give you that machine to make sure you don't die while you're sleeping. You see the psychiatrist to deal with your mental health. You see the surgeons because you have reflux. Every time you eat, things are coming back up. You see the orthopedic surgeon because you have bone weakness, you get fractures. You see the heart doctor because you have heart problems. Furthermore, they're going to offer you treatment now. Now you're going to get all this treatment from all aspects of medical work. But let's think back. We're not worried about obesity, but let's think about smoking and lung cancer. Heaven forbid we smoke, because we're going to get lung cancer. We know this. You smoke, you're 100% going to get lung cancer. It's just a matter of when, but we still do it. Alcohol. Thank God we are not drinking alcohol. We don't even have to talk about that. But going back to obesity, is it any different? That's just something you got to think about. But better yet, we're going to evolve even further now. Let's say forget about that. We have an approach now to obesity in the medical specialist. We're going to say, hey, forget about, we're not going to send you to the endocrinologist. We're not going to send you to the heart attack specialist. We're actually going to deal with the elephant in the room. We're going to attack obesity by sending you to a bariatric program, a weight loss program, to address your obesity with surgery. Why? Because we know we can get you about 60 to 100 pound weight loss. So I'm just going to talk about the surgery really quick, but this is not the purpose of the talk. We do 2 types of surgeries. Bottom line is we're trying to shrink your stomach. Why? So you don't eat much. That's the goal. So you don't eat much. Surgery gives great results. You're in the hospital for about a day, a night. You're home the next morning, you're walking. You're eating, but you're eating this amount of food. And guess what? You're going to lose a lot of weight. Approximately 60 to 100 pounds you'll lose. But the plan is, what are you going to do after that? Are you going to return back to your life that contributed to the weight gain? You're going to gain weight again. Remember, this weight gain doesn't happen overnight. This happens over days, months, years, decades. And we got to unwind that with an hour operation. I guarantee you the operation will work, but the question is, what are you going to do after? But let's step back again. I call this the triangle of pain. And if you look at the top, immobility. If you think about what our situation is every day, how mobile are we? Immobility causes pain. No doubt about that. But guess what we're doing? We're still eating. And guess what happens? Weight gain. And now the triangle starts again. Immobility in itself is almost a new disease. It's almost equivalent to the smoking of our generation. So why am I so focused on immobility? Because we've moved to an office-based workforce. We've moved to a home-based workforce. We're not moving. We're not even getting out of the car to drive to work anymore. That's a problem. Anybody sit around and say, you know what, I'm going to spend Sunday, I'm not going to move, I'm going to stay on the couch, I'm going to watch TV. Anybody ever done that? How do you feel when you get up? You feel horrible, right? And we're going to do it again. But the difference is we're going to have a drink, we're going to have some chips, we're going to have some things, snack to make us feel good. But it's actually going to make us feel worse. So now let's reboot. Let's think about ways that now we know the facts. We know obesity is an epidemic worldwide. There are no borders to this. Every country is facing this because everyone's in the same situation. We all have iPhones. We want to power it down, we power it up, and guess what? It comes back better. But when do we ever power down? When do we ever come back better? There's no time in your life where you can't come back better. Whether you're 5, you're 10, you're 20, you're 30, you're 80, you can come back better. It is your choice. This is as spiritual as I get. Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the opportunity once a year to get broken, to come back stronger. Every time you fast, you are broken by 5 o'clock. You pray your namaz, you have your glass of water, you feel like the water's gone through you, it's re-energizing you. You have your dates, you eat them, you're full. You are full. It reminds us how little of food we actually need to live. Every year we get this opportunity. For 30 days, it reminds us how much food and water we actually need to survive. What does the blessed month allow us to do? It builds us stronger relationships with Allah, selflessness. We fast through prayer. It brings us all together in a most difficult way. You are challenged, you are stressed by not eating and drinking, and you're expected to be your best. But the rest of the months, you're not starving. Are you at your best? You can be. You should be. I want you to be. Intermittent fasting is a huge thing we talk about. Intermittent fasting is based on Ramadan, right? People don't want to eat. They after a certain time, they're not eating, right? After 6 p.m., they're not eating till 7 in the morning. That's intermittent fasting, right? Why? Because you don't need a big meal for supper time. What are you preparing for? Are you preparing for a marathon later that evening? No. But this is culture. This is something it's ingrained in us. To have a big meal before we go to bed. What happens when you eat at 9 o'clock at night? Let me further ask this. When you eat something at 10 o'clock at night, what happens to you at 2 in the morning? Reflux, most likely. Or at least when you get older like me, you'll get it. It's your body telling you, don't do that. Your body will tell you what not to do. It's just that we're not listening. Prayer. Again, Allah gives us an opportunity every day between every salah we pray to be better. We're meditating during Salat al-Fajr, Salat al-Dhuhr. We're meditating. We're supposed to pray. We're supposed to leave that Jai namaz better. Are we leaving it better? That's the purpose of prayer. It's not just, well, because we have to pray 5 times a day. No, there's purpose. And this is our power off. This is our iPhone power off. 5 times a day we get this power off and to come back. And are we being better? For whatever activity you're talking about, for whatever behavior you're talking about, this is our iPhone for us. So if we talk about, let's change gears a little bit. Why is a grocery store set up the way it is? Where you enter at the bottom, you have the registers, and then in the periphery you have your produce, your flowers, your bakery, your dairy, your meat and your poultry on the periphery. And then notice how there's aisles in the middle that aren't even labeled? Why are they not labeled? Because they don't want you to know what's in there. Refined foods, processed foods, high sodium, all the stuff you probably shouldn't be eating. Frozen foods, right? This is the easy stuff, right? The stuff that you open up and you can just eat without any work. Probably not that good for you, right? So most people are recommending that you just shop at the periphery of a grocery store. Stay at the periphery, try to avoid the aisles, right? I love this one. Ginger, Zambuca, or whatever that stuff is, Kombucha, multivitamins, right? I'll be honest, as a surgeon, there's never been a time where I said to myself, thank God Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this patient took their turmeric today. Allahu Akbar, thank God they took their multivitamin today. Never. Never. Is there one thing I'm always worried about as a surgeon for a patient going through surgery? It's obesity. It's the number one thing I know, that if you have obesity and I'm going to operate on you, your complications are going to go up. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's because it's a harder operation. The operation, normal sized patients, takes 30 minutes, 40 minutes. You add obesity, now you're doubling the OR time, the operating room time. That means you're doubling your exposure to anesthetic, you're doubling the risks of me operating on you, just by your weight alone. Why am I anti this? Again, I've never thought, thank God my patient's on ginger, taking daily ginger, thank God. Thank God they're drinking green tea every day. No. So why am I so anti-supplements? Because they're a multi-million dollar industry. They are a money maker. These supplements will never compensate for a poor diet and poor exercise regimen. If you think you can have a poor diet and lack exercise and eat ginger, supplements have vitamins to compensate for that, it's not happening. It's not happening. So if we talk about diet, and I could spend decades on what a healthy diet is. You can go to a dietitian and ask what a healthy diet is. I don't think anybody will ever tell you what it is, but your body will tell you what it isn't. You just got to listen. Fruits, vegetables, poultry, meat, everything. You know, within moderation, it's good for you, right? The amount of effort you put into working with that, it's good for you. The more packaged, the more processed meals you choose, your body's not going to be happy with that. So if we talk about exercise, we have recommendations of 150 minutes a week of activity. So it's about 20 minutes a day. Who doesn't have 20 minutes to do exercise? I know you're going to say, well, I have 3 kids at home, I have a demanding husband, blah, blah, blah. 20 minutes? Can't wake up 20 minutes earlier? Can't spend 20 minutes before you go to bed to take care of yourself? You got to do this. Because if you don't do this, there's no medication I can give you to do this. There's no medication I can give you to do the right thing. There's no medication I can give you to make proper, healthy decisions. Furthermore, it actually says the exercise you do commit to has to be moderate to vigorous aerobic. Moderate to vigorous. It's not calm, cool, relaxed. You're not reading a book while you're on the treadmill. Because if you're reading a book, you're probably not exercising. If you're able to complete your sentences, probably not vigorous. And this is for up to 64. So these are old. Right? 64 is very young these days, right? But the other thing it also says is focus on activities that focus on muscle and bone strength. That takes it to another level. Like we have to have strong muscles, strong bones to walk straight up, to do our activities when we're 60, when we're 70, when we're 80. So we got to put that time in now to perform these activities that actually build the muscle strength, focus on bone health. Because there's no drug that we can do that will do that for you. If we talk about the health benefits of physical activity, it reduces the risk of death, heart disease, heart attack, stroke, high blood pressure, colon cancer, breast cancer, diabetes. Now look at this, it reduces the risk of death. I never said about going to a doctor that reduces your risk. I never said about going to a surgeon that reduces the risk. This is what you can do. You can reduce the risk by just doing these things for 20 minutes a day. Even let's say 20 minutes is too much. 2 minutes a day. 3 minutes a day. What's going to translate? You're going to notice self-esteem improvement. You're going to actually feel good. You're going to feel better. You're going to reduce the amount of stress in your life by exercising. You're going to have more energy. You're going to have positive mental health from this, of course. So if we can talk about tips, I always say focus on breakfast, lunch, and minimize your supper. You don't need much for supper. No meals after 7 p.m., try it. Then move it back even further, 6:30, 6 p.m. You can have water, of course. I think the pendulum needs to swing that we need to stop focusing on feeling full after a meal. Does that make sense? You feel full after a meal, you're going to gain weight. So we need to start swinging it the other way. You know what? We need to feel a little bit hungry at the end of a meal. The other thing is we have to start paying attention when we're eating. What are we doing while we're eating? Are we watching TV? Are we engaging in a conversation that we're not paying attention to how much we're actually putting in our mouth? How many people still use a plate, I don't know, like this to eat their supper with? You don't have to raise your hand. Okay, you raise your hand. Thanks, very kind of you. Yeah. Well, why do we need such a big plate? Do we need that much food on our plate? Probably not. I'll tell you right now, no you don't. Right? Why aren't we shrinking this down to a portion like this? Because I guarantee you that's all we probably need. Eliminate distractions, right? Why do we want to eliminate distractions? Because we want to take account of how much we're consuming. Okay? The average North American, how long do you think it takes to eat our meals? Anybody? Sure.
1 hour.
Whoa, I wish it was. Good, nice try. Anybody else?
5 minutes.
Exactly. It's actually 5 minutes. Do you eat for an hour? Allahu Akbar, mashallah, good for you. But the point is, we're eating so fast. We're eating large volumes in a small amount of time. All right? Which is the other thing we could do, probably spread out that time and eat smaller amounts. I talked about the grocery store. I talked about the approach to that. The importance of Ramadan and Salah, the reminders every day that we got to be better. So now, I've told you a plan, I've told you the facts, I've kind of told you some little advice about how to approach this. Now it's up to you to take this kind of information and see how you can apply it. Whether it's diet, whether it's exercising, whether it's being a better person, whether it's being a better parent, whether it's being a better husband, whether it's being a better wife. How can we use this framework to be better Muslims, to be better human beings? It's something we owe the world, we owe ourselves. So in conclusion, the framework of reanalyze, reboot, and transform doesn't necessarily just apply to your phone. We should apply it to ourselves. Obesity-related consequences. Obesity is huge. It's significant, and it's something we control. Mind, body, soul, and health. Absolutely every aspect to being healthy. I gave you some tips. I tried to keep this as simple as possible because it is not complex. The more complex we make it, the more difficult it's going to be. Self-control, being responsible for yourself. That's what I conclude. Thank you. I'll take questions. Any questions, clarifications? Hope I didn't make it that convoluted, but sure.
How seriously should we take the BMI index?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
So, how serious is the BMI index?
I think a BMI index you should be used because we don't have an alternative, right? That's a great calculation to give you an insight of where you're at. It may not be perfect, but there is nothing perfect, right? So that's just a mathematical formula to define how obese people are. The question was the body mass index, and that's all we have. I know a lot of people want to throw that out, but I think at the end of the day, you can throw it out if we have an alternative, but at the end of the day, nobody wants to measure your weight. Nobody wants to tell you how much you weigh. Why? I don't know. But if you have high blood pressure, we measure it all the time. You have obesity thing, why can't you measure it? So the scale is important, right? That's the only thing that's going to tell you if you're doing the right thing. If your scale's going up, you're not doing the right thing. If your weight's going down on the scale, you're doing the right thing. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Sure, sister.
If you have had hernia surgery, do you qualify for gastrointestinal surgery?
Great question. You do. Hernia surgery, just remember the principles of hernia surgery in the sense that your best shot at hernia surgery is your first time. Okay, so you want to optimize every potential element to maximize your results from that surgery. So if you're going to do a hernia surgery, you got to make sure you're giving us the opportunity to do the best operation. So again, weight is a huge issue. We can operate on you, but it will come back. So the second time we operate on you, the risks go up. The risks of it coming back are way higher. Does it prevent you from getting other surgery? No, it doesn't. Please.
For those about, for example, failure of 40, what is the best daily exercise, whether it is jogging or running on hand or walking fast forward?
I think it's whatever you enjoy doing that you can do. I think that's something you start off with, and whether it's walking slowly and then slowly increasing your pace, I think that's something you have to define and what you find out that you enjoy. Just remember, there's so many different ways we can exercise, right? There's so many different ways. It's not just restricted to jogging, cycling, or weightlifting and all that stuff. There's so many different ways you can do that, right? You can go on YouTube, you can find different exercise classes that you can do within your home as well, right? You don't necessarily have to leave your house to even access this, which is phenomenal, right? If you want to learn how to, I don't know, change your, the flush in your toilet, you can just look it on YouTube, right? If you want to figure out how to increase my muscle strength on YouTube, look it up. They'll give you exercises to work on, right? And what I would recommend is that you start doing this and you change it up. The last thing you want is monotony, and you're like, oh, it's boring, I gotta do the same thing over and over again. Change it up every month, every 2 months, do something different, but just addresses the same goals you want. Yes, please.
So thanks for sharing all the tips of like living better, eating better.
Yeah.
So if I have somebody in my family who's struggling maybe with chronic illness, diabetes, or high blood pressure, or being obese, I know they have to do things for themselves, like eat well, exercise, but what does the medical system have? What sort of supports are there, like for the person? Can they go see the family doctor and get sent to a nutritionist, a dietitian? Like, what's out there for them to go and get extra help?
Yep, that's a great question. Well, thank you. Thanks, buddy. Thank you. So first of all, I think we all have those members in our family. That's pretty clear. And I think, number one, the biggest thing you have to struggle with, first of all, do they have insight? Do they have insight into the issues they have, and do they willing to change, right? And I think that's where we all struggle with. The fact that the matter is that they may have insight, but they don't want to change, or they don't have insight, they have no idea that they need to change. So right then and there, you're in trouble, right? There's nothing you can access that's going to help them, right? So you have to figure out how we can get them insight. Once you have insight, then the world is yours. Like I said before, there's all sorts of internet resources available for you that you don't even have to leave the house for, right? And you'll read different websites, and you'll get similar ideas, and you'll be able to learn from them, right? Family doctor, man, the family doctor, is there any family doctors in here right now? Mashallah. Oh, there you go. She can even answer your question, but the family doctors are so inundated with everything. Like, they've done such an amazing job for everybody with the lack of the numbers there. So the work they're doing is amazing. But at the end of the day, and maybe I'll let Sister answer the question too, but you can always go to your family doctor for support. But I think what you need to do is start before you go. Do you have any comments?
That's totally true. Like the insight part, you have the insight, and then especially with family history and stuff, your blood work annually at least once a year needed.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Great question, though. Anybody else? I know everybody's starting to get a little hungry. Oh, Mustafa, go ahead. Oh, yeah, so we have 3 questions. Go ahead.
I have a question. So you said that obesity is a decision that we make, right? You said that obesity is a decision that, it's based on decisions we make, right?
They're very crass, very generalized. Yes, answer correct.
How do you, I'm sure you see a lot of patients that think it's not within their control to change their habits. How do you go about helping them understand how to make these decisions and continue to pursue them, which is a mindset change instead of tools, having the exercise ball just beside you, having easy access, but it's a mindset. How do you do that?
I don't.
Oh, you don't?
I'll be quite frank. So the beautiful thing about why I did surgery is because I know I can do something. All right, I know what I can fix and what I can't fix. What you're alluding to is exactly in the mind. I don't operate on the mind. I don't operate on the decisions the mind makes, right? I don't have any impact on what their right hand does. I don't have any impact on their behavior. I don't. And that is the thing that frustrates me, because there's a significant amount of this is their mind. And patients will tell you, you did the surgery, it went great, but it's up here now. And for that, we could flood the psychiatrists with it, but they don't even want to see the patients, right? Because they don't have any drugs that can help them make the right decision. Right? There's behavioral discussions. You can sit there and counsel. The family doctors can provide some counseling, but it's counseling and counseling. And remember, it's also unwinding a culture of generations, a culture of decades of behavioral changes that have led to this, right? So like you said before, it's something that's very challenging and very difficult to deal with. I'm just going to give the little guy a question. Go ahead.
What's the most recommended time you should take away from your day to do exercise?
Great question. You know, I think at the end of the day, it's not about the specific time, it's the fact that you're putting out time, whether it's 10 minutes, for you I'm going to say an hour, but for everybody else it's going to be about 10, 20 minutes, but you know what I mean? Make sure you take an activity that you enjoy, which that helps too, right? There's so many different activities out there that you can enjoy, right? So whether it's basketball, whether it's playing ping pong, whether it's doing something to get your heart rate up, you're actually like vigorous about it, like you start sweating, you know, you can't breathe, that's a good sign. Go ahead.
I like very much the natural food and keeping reading the ingredients of everything like that. The majority of youth and teenagers, 14, 15 and above, who are fond of going to the gym and building muscles and stuff, they are attracted to protein powder as a supplement, and claiming that they are very natural kinds of them. So what is your opinion about this?
Have you ever read the ingredients in the protein powder?
No, not yet.
Anybody? I think anything that starts off with an X, is there anything that you eat that starts with the letter X? So there's something particular in there that's called xanthan gum. I can't even pronounce it, but xanthan, X. That doesn't sound very good for you, right? Because it's like the binder or whatever that holds the protein together. Yeah, I think anything on, I'll be honest, I use protein powder all the time for my smoothies because I enjoy them, because I like them. You have to get protein. Is it better to have protein from an actual source, like a salmon fillet, a chicken breast? That's probably ideal, but it's easier to drink down a smoothie in 3 minutes than it is to have a chicken breast, right? Because you have to prepare it. So I think it's better than doing other things that the kids could do. So it's all about like, now this is a battle you want to fight, right? They're taking protein supplements. Not the end of the world.
What is the side effects? That makes you sick about it?
I think one of the things is excess protein can be a problem, right? Like if they're not hydrating enough, if they're not getting enough water, you can get some kidney issues, you can get dehydration and all that stuff. So I think the thing is if you're taking protein supplements, you have to hydrate properly as well. Drink some fluids too, lots of water. Remember, water is your best drink. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us water. If there's one thing you can only drink, just drink water, and you gotta have your cup of tea, of course. But like juices and all that stuff, oh, it's terrible. Liquid sugar. Mustafa, you okay?
I have a whole bunch of others asked.
Oh, okay. Please.
I'm wondering, what's your opinion about like 7-minute workout, that concept? Like, will you achieve the same health benefits?
Are you talking about high interval intensity training? That 7-minute workout? Yeah. So things change, right? Like, I don't think anybody should start engaging that right out the gates in case you haven't worked out. Like, that's for higher level working out, okay? I think everybody wants that short, small effort for the biggest bang. But I think you gotta recognize why we're doing it, right? I think you gotta figure out an exercise that you enjoy doing, right? So that way you wanna be there for not just 7 minutes, you wanna be there for 15 minutes, right? I don't know how else to say that, but it's also exercise, like salah, like everything else we do, should be part of every day. Like that's what you enjoy doing, that's just part of it. I have to do it. I have to wake up, just like I have to have breakfast, I have to have a 20-minute workout. You know what I mean? Like it's just something that has to be part of our culture. And it's hard, because it hasn't been for a long time. So I guess to answer your question, do I like doing those 12-minute high-intensity workouts? Absolutely I do, because I built my my endurance to get me there, but I don't do it all the time, right? Like some people say you should do it like 3 times a week. It's pretty hard. Like your heart rate's up for like 12 minutes. It's not easy. It's very hard. Hamza, do you have any questions? No? Mustafa?
You mentioned something during the presentation. You said that after surgery, it works for a little bit of time where the person would lose 100 pounds or so. Right. But then the person would go back into eating. I'm assuming, again, I'm not a biologist or a doctor, I'm assuming the stomach would just rebuild itself and would just expand again, right? So is this more of a chance for the patient to catch up and just like reset? And that's again a mental exercise as opposed to just purely physical exercise.
So let me back up with that. You know, at the end of the day, when you get to 300 pounds, 400 pounds, none of us can sympathize with that. But let me ask you this: how easy is it to lose 10 pounds? How easy? Really?
Yes.
Oh, Allahu Akbar, mashallah. Yeah, okay, let's ask the men here. How easy is it to lose 10 pounds? Because the women think it's easy. Is it easy? Thank you, Mustafa. So let me just say, it can be very challenging for some of us, for most of us on this side of the room. But the fact is, can you imagine trying to lose 100 pounds? It's virtually impossible. Because the other thing is, the amount of effort you put in, if you're going to lose 3 pounds when you're 300 pounds, you're 297. Are you going to see that? Are you going to notice that? No. But if you lose 3 pounds, 5 pounds, you're going to notice that. And that's going to facilitate, hey, whatever I'm doing, it's going to work. For these patients, that's not going to work. So that's why we do the surgery. They lose 100 pounds. They see the results. But do they have to go back to diet, exercise, and changing behavior? That's the way it's going to be sustainable. And I guess the question is when they recur, yeah, they recur because they're making the wrong decisions. They had the bad year, et cetera, et cetera. Does the stomach increase? Not really. Can you overeat? You can, right? Liquid calories still go down fast, even though the stomach pouch is small. Smoothies, milkshakes, they all go down super fast, right? Good question. One more question? Yes, please. Two more questions. Go ahead.
I have my son who has low weight.
Low weight.
My son does. And how we get more weight? By food or what?
How old is he?
How old?
Yeah.
15.
And he's low weight. You know, it's such a tough thing because he's still growing, right? And you know, you'd be surprised, like with time, he'll still have growth spurts and all that stuff. So what you're seeing now may not be a reflection of what happens 5-10 years down the road. So, you know, as long as he's eating and he's eating healthy food and he's got a good appetite and he's eating, I'd be more concerned about that rather than the actual weight for him. And it's like, is he functioning well? He doesn't have any energy issues? Is he doing his activities as normal?
Yes, but he loves salad, veggies, food, and like.
You know, that's a problem we'd all love to have is low weight rather than the high weight. So I think, you know, at the end of the day, I wouldn't be pushing it too hard as long as, you know, maybe our family doctor can pipe in here too. She might be more concerned about than I am because I don't deal with that pediatric population, which is a different beast. So maybe I'll divert to her.
Yeah, so I would, you know, even though we say low weight, we need to calculate, right? Like we were talking about the BMI, right? The height and the weight, and then see which category is it. On the height-wise, is it the percentile or the weight-wise, and then you go and see the family doctor or even the pediatrician, and then talk with them and see. And basically, we do some blood work and see, and then at the same time, if he's also not catching up with the weight, then we look for the abnormalities. And then always supplementation. We don't encourage it anymore. We try and eat healthy, like you said, and then they catch up. As soon as the growth spurts, they catch up.
And my question, he doesn't need to eat more, right?
I would never recommend that. But again, I'm not a pediatrician. She's closer to that than me, but I'll let her answer that.
Yeah, no, we don't recommend that.
My question is about this thing called superfoods. Sometimes you have all these ads that you watch about you should have this 5 things in your diet always, and that kind of thing. So what do you think about that? And also, I'm also interested to find out about organic foods, which are another thing.
Right.
And if we can't afford eating organic food, then what?
Wow, that's a cup of tea I didn't want to open up, or a conversation I didn't want to open up, but sure. So the first question is the superfoods. Again, it's the same thing, right? Like superfoods will never replace a healthy diet, right? The kales and all that stuff, you can eat that, but I think that at the end of the day, it's what you're eating the majority of the time, right? So it's the same thing as the nutritional supplements. I would say have a healthy diet, a healthy approach to life, and you don't need those superfoods. It's just more positive, I guess. The organic food thing that's so controversial in the sense that there's no evidence to say that it's better, right? Let me give you an example. This is a terrible analogy. How many people fill their car with premium unleaded gas? How many people fill it up? Okay, thank you, sister. Come on, men. Who fills it up? Who does it? Come on, tell me. Why are the sisters all honest here and the men aren't even raising their hand? Come on, guys. Yeah, there is Mustafa. Okay. You feel it? Because you open your glass tank and says, this car is better served with premium unleaded gas or else. Have you ever tried filling up with regular? What happens? Who's the engineer in the room? What's the difference between octane levels for gas for cars?
I'm computer science engineer.
Okay, so that's not gonna help. So that's not gonna help. At the end of the day, it's a money maker. Your car is still gonna run with a premium. They're not gonna know that you've filled it up with regular, unless it's a high functioning race car, which I think most of us are not driving. Where was I going with that? What was the question again? Yeah, so same thing with organic, right? Like you have these organic farms that are doing stuff with the fruit. You don't know what they're doing, and you're paying a premium for it. Again, I've never been with a patient where I'm like, oh, thank God they had their organic bananas today. Do you see the same themes come whenever it's the exact same thing, right? Do you think, sister, what do you think about that? Yeah.
I guess outcome-wise it's the same, right?
The only difference is you're paying more, right? You're paying more. I think we
don't see patients talking about organic foods. I guess because of the grocery bills.
Yeah. I'll give you a little anecdote. So my car always said fill up with premium. So I always cheaped out because I realized I'd save $14 every time I filled up a tank, so I could go to a movie and watch a movie for $14. So I always looked at it like, okay, well I'm saving money. Well, why am I saving this money? I get to do something fun. So anyhow. Any other questions? I think we've had great questions. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come and talk to you, and Jazakallah.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Samad. Am I saying it right? Samad?
Yeah, perfect.
Samad Malik.
Close.
All right. So we were almost good friends. Thank you so much. This was a very beautiful lecture. I'm feeling the guilt. At the same time, I'm happy. It's a very mixed feeling. So, Jazakumullahu khairan for this. We really, really appreciate this talk. And inshallah, would love to see more people like Dr. Malik to come forward, especially people with expertise, because I think that'll help change the culture, as Dr. Malik was saying, which is super important if we're going to create bringing real change for a better future. So I think it's important to change that culture gradually. Jazakumullahu khairan. Before we start dinner, I want to run through a few things. So inshallah, here's the plan for the next few months of the talks. Inshallah, we haven't sent the email out yet, but we're planning to do that soon. So we're planning for November 5th, the healthy dynamics for the Muslim family. The speaker is Mufti Mu'adh. On December 3rd, we have a topic called legal considerations for writing an Islamic will. And inshallah, that's Sister Sarah Al-Asali. She's a lawyer. And inshallah, on January 1st, we are planning restorative justice for the Muslim community by Dr. Musa Magasa. So inshallah, that's the plan. And we're going to be sending the emails out about that, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. We want to also tell you guys that we have, alhamdulillah, established a good partnership with Lake Hill Soccer Association. It's definitely a new way of doing things within the Muslim community. So we started, our journey started by planning our own soccer games. We started to kind of understand the market a little bit more. We started to, connect with people, figure out, what works, what doesn't. And alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us right now with a partnership with Lake Hill, a very well-known soccer club here in Victoria, in which we have an agreement with them where if people sign up through OBRF, inshallah, their fees will be waived. We opened the brackets from U4 to U7 for now, and inshallah with time we can expand that bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. The next thing that is coming up for us is the Ramadan 2024 program. Did anyone attend any of OBRF's Ramadan programs last year? Like anything? MashaAllah. Ramadan challenge, did you come to the Taraweeh? Did were you involved in any of the activities, food bank, things like that? So inshallah, we're planning to do that and expand it a bit more. So inshallah, for the Ramadan challenge, it is actually the largest challenge in North America. And we did put a challenge out. And we said, if you can't find something that is better than it, we'll give you $300. Was it 300, Sheikh Zuhair? And we got all the replies back. We analyzed it. It wasn't as good as this. Alhamdulillah, last year we had 1,300 participants. That's a pretty large number when you think about it. This year we have a goal that we want a partnership with 30 Muslim schools across Canada. So if anybody has connections to Muslim schools, we would love this to go out. Now we partnered with almost every Islamic school in BC. Which has been fantastic because they would just open it to their students and the students would just love it. They would engage with Ramadan, they would feel the spirituality, they would win some fantastic prizes. But this time right now, this is a huge goal. If anybody has any connections with Muslim schools across Canada, we would love for you to create that connection, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. The Al-Ma'oon Food Bank, we have almost like a motto for that, dignified assistance. We do things a bit differently than other food banks. Our goal this month as well, in the month of Ramadan, is to deliver at least 500 hot meals, but also to continue the weekly delivery of groceries. Then we have the spiritual experience. We call it the spiritual experience, something that is local, unique, and impactful. And the goal behind it is to create a memorable, collaborative Ramadan. What I mean by that is that we're starting to talk to some organizations locally, some individuals, some really high impacting individuals, and we're trying to create that cultural change where we can have a fun Ramadan but through collaborations, a very spiritual Ramadan but through collaborations. So that's the goal, inshallah, this year. We hope to have you all on board with this, and inshallah, we're looking forward to continuing to this growth with you guys, inshallah, with everybody. I want to do the $50 draw. So for people that are new, this is part of the attempt to do a cultural change, which is that for people that come to we always start, inshallah, at 3 p.m. Sometimes we're late a couple of minutes, but we always start at, on time. And this is, even if we have one person. I think one time early on we had like 3 people and we still started. And then one time we had over 70 people that came on time, I think. So I think this is part of that, creating that cultural change. Like regardless what's happening, we're starting on time. We don't want to waste people's time. Everybody here is busy. I look at everyone in the room. They're very high caliber individuals. They don't have time to waste. As well as us, we don't have much time to waste either. So what we do is that we offer a $50 draw for people that arrive within the first few minutes. Until the Quran recitation is done, you get a ticket. So who has tickets here? MashaAllah. So those are the guys or the people that arrived on time. So we're going to do a draw, and I always let the speaker do the draw because they could hate on him, whoever wins or doesn't win, because you're going to see me again. So we're going to ask Dr. Samad to do the draw, inshallah. Well, yeah, what if you draw yours? I don't know. Then you're a good surgeon. All right, bismillah. So the last 4 numbers is 1694. Oh, mashallah, mashallah, Allahu Akbar. Mashallah, congratulations, congratulations. Maybe to Dr. Malik's dislike, we actually have one of those app ordering gift cards, $50 gift card. We did give him a heads up before, we didn't know he dislikes those apps, but he said everything has its place, and so alhamdulillah, he approved. Dr. Samad approved. All right, so inshallah right now we are on time. Let's see what time it is. Exactly 4, that's fantastic. So inshallah we'll start with the dinner. We'll start with the sisters. So the sisters, inshallah, please start. The brothers, you can hang out a little bit. And inshallah, jazakumullahu khairan for attending. And we'll see you inshallah next month. Jazakumullahu khairan.